for your cause. And you know, that Harry Sanders piece made national news.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to talk about
Well,
that
the whole
today.
world is looking at Mississippi now. You know, Mississippi is one of the last vestiges of the Confederacy, Dukes of Hazzard / racial John Boy, all of that. You
All
know,
that good stuff.
Yeah, and the reason why it's so crucial, especially for white people who have economic power, is because it's hitting them in their pocket.
Well, I want to give a big shout out, if we did shout outs, to Representative Karriem, fighting hard. I know you've leading the charge, the forefront in this matter in terms of removing the flag. That's been on the agenda of yours for quite some time.
As well as Mississippi Black Caucus, Senator Angela Turner Ford, chairman. But today is a historic moment because old Reb should come down.
Yeah, it's the only state in the Union, Mississippi, which flies the Confederate battle insignia inside the state flag, which should have left years ago. I think there was a vote taken in 2001, right?
I want to say it was 2002, but very disastrous. It was left up to the people. We pushed hard to get people to get out to vote, to change and bring down that racist symbol, and it did not avail itself. Enough of us didn't get out to vote, and we were walked. I mean, by about a 60% margin, and so you know, we just weren't interested at the time. That was 2002. That was 18 years ago. But today, by the grace of God, we're hoping and praying that old Reb will come down. The whole world is watching, not just the whole country.
That's right.
But
They've
the
been
whole,
watching.
Yeah, the whole world is watching Mississippi.
Get ready to get started. A few minutes. Just some housekeeping rules. Please like us on Facebook as well as YouTube. Hey, start your own watch party. It's possible. News, information where we control the narrative. We want to amplify your voice with pertinent information that's relevant to you. And we want to keep it up. So let us hear from you.
For those of you just tuning in, this is Karriem and Company, and we're monitoring the Mississippi legislature. And of course, when they take this historic vote, first they have to suspend the rules. If that passes, then they will vote on actually taking the flag down. Then it will go to the Senate. We've been in touch with Representative Karriem, and that's about to go down in a few minutes. Yes, and so very historic day today. Whether or not the rebel flag will come down from flying over Mississippi.
Welcome today to Karriem and Company. Of those of you that are joining us, this is episode 18. Episode 18.
18.
Can you believe that? We've been doing it since February, and we like to continue. So I'll have some information at the end of this broadcast where you can make a contribution, where shows and information pieces like this can continue. Just want to give a few housekeeping rules once again. Check us out on Facebook. And, you know, we've been getting a lot of love on Facebook in terms of Karriem and Company, the content. And for all that love, I just can't say thanks.
Thank you, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much. All of those staunch supporters, and the ones that they're going to tune in every week no matter what. And if something happens that we're not on, they're going to say, where you at?
Yeah.
They're going to call and say, where you at? Where you been? Yeah. Last week we missed our regular broadcast. It was some matters needed tending to, but we're back on. And as we come on, it's our attempt to upgrade, bring you the latest information set the narrative in terms of how it relates to our people, black people, African American people, and to inform you, elevate, educate, and of course help perfect your world and what you do right here at Karriem and Company.
Unless you've been under a rock or you've just been out of it or incapacitated, for all that's been keeping up with not only local news but national news, in the USA Today, a big write-up was on Lee County Board of Supervisors President Harry Sanders with some scathing racist and bigot comments that he's made, which he stands firmly on since he's recanted and apologized.
Right.
But there was a statement issued Wednesday
By the Mississippi GOP.
that condemning his remarks. Republican supervisor who's made some racist remarks. This was June 17th. Harry Sanders said that blacks were taken care of during slavery. They were dependent on society. He also doubled down on these comments
With the Clarion Ledger.
and stating that he's not backing down. Quote, "Hell, it's what I think." Want to hear from you, big brother. Take us there.
Well, this is what you call a real stubborn white man. His own party has asked him to resign. The chairman of the Mississippi Republican Party, Lucien Smith, has advised that he needs to take a seat, and he's apologized, hoping that will keep him ingrained in his seat. Whereas in some quarters, the apology accepted, but your seat needs to air out. You need to leave your seat, So it's one of those type of daunting circumstances where he's just a self-willed old man, and the longer he stays, the more crazier he looks, and the more crazier Lowndes County looks. And I'm really hoping that if they have to recall him, that his constituents will realize that they need that 51% in order to free up the Board of Supervisors, replace him with somebody else that would make Lowndes County look credible, and it would stop hurting the economic viability of Lowndes County.
For those of you that just heard that background noise, that's
The House of Representatives.
the House of Representatives reconvening, about to take a vote on the state flag, state of Mississippi. We'll keep you updated on that information as we're privy to that information. But getting back to the matter at hand, let us not be hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. That racist comments like this is no surprise, especially here to the state of Mississippi. Just last month, Mayor of Petal, Mississippi, Hal Marks, stated that he didn't see anything unreasonable about the death of George Floyd. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Cindy Hyde Smith, Mississippi United States Senator, said if invited to a public hanging, she'd wanted to be in the front row. You remember that?
Absolutely.
Mississippi State Representative Carl Oliver stated any leader who wants to remove or destroy a Confederate monument should be lynched. So we're not removed from the antics and the feelings, the gestures, the conversation, the comments in terms of bigotry, racism, and what have you. So,
and the other thing is, the reason why it's taking this House and Senate vote so long to bring the state flag down, something that you have to keep in mind, you still have some old, fogey, racist diehards that are still in these chambers that refuse to change. So what has been going on has actually been a wrangling. It's been a arm twisting. I'm interested to know what had to be given up in order to secure the votes, of course, of which they need 81 in the House, 34 in the Senate, in order for the flag to come down.
Mm-hmm.
But we're into Saturday now. It was supposed to have been done yesterday, but we're into another day. And so right now, the House is getting ready to convene, and we're getting ready to see, first of all, if the rules are suspended in the House and whether or not we have the 81 votes there. Then it moves over to the Senate for the same procedure, of which you only need 34 votes. So racism still tries to dig its claws in and hang on in every aspect.
I'd like to take time to just welcome each and every viewer and listener of this podcast, wherever you are, taking the time out of your busy schedule, your Saturday, to be a part of Karriem and Company. Hit the like button.
Yes.
Tell someone to tell someone that we're on. Start your own watch party. Thank you once again for the missed episodes. Check us out on YouTube. You can check us out. Also subscribe, hit the like button, and share.
So we should
Share.
we should have up to 15 or 16 episodes on YouTube.
Yes, we should have that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. I want to get back to Harry Sanders. This has been nothing surprising, nothing short of a surprise in terms of his characteristics, his attitudes. And the reason why I'm going here, because the narrative in terms of the United States for bigotry, hate, racism has been set. We've seen it in Charlottesville, Virginia. We've seen it just recently in Minnesota, California, the recent deaths of the men found hanging in trees. And you said the same day George Floyd was murdered, lynched rather, that there was 5 other deaths.
Yeah, 5 others around the country. Of course, it was overshadowed by George Floyd's death because George Floyd's death was virtual, and it was viral. It was live, and so, but 5 happened at the same time at the hands of police. Then also, to add insult to injury, the police reform bill can't get it through the House or the Senate. They can't agree on the terms of the police reform bill, something that the protesters have been protesting about. So still stonewalled in terms of police reform. And we said this the last time that we broadcast, that the police unions, very powerful unions, I believe I informed you all that over $2 billion annually circulates through a portion of these unions. Very heavy political influence. They have politicians in their pocket all the way going up to Capitol Hill. This is very proven when it comes to trying to disallow qualified immunity. They've been being fought tooth and nail on every step of the way. That's why they're not able to get this bill through. Also, the Trump administration side, they're pushing a watered down bill of reform that the Democratic side refuses to accept. But where does this leave the people? This leaves the people still without no kind of police reform, still at ground zero when it comes to police brutality, when it comes to injustices in the street, when it comes to how black men and women are going to be treated, not only in America, because the whole world is watching America and how they handle this. Just this morning, I was watching a video in Paris, France, of a black woman being wrestled down just like she was a piece of cattle and trampled by police in France. So this racism and this brutality and this fascism is happening not only in America, but all over the world. But once again, we are bulwarked. We are just stonewalled in Congress when it comes to police reform.
Well, the reason why I make mention, and I'm sticking here on Harry Sanders, because there's some grassroots, basic, fundamental understanding that has to happen with our listeners, and that is that people elect people like Harry Sanders. He stated to the Clarion Ledger that he's not stepping down. If he's voted out, he'll leave. It's a 5-member panel. I think 3 votes is the majority in that situation.
Well, to unseat him, it has to go back to his district.
But in terms of him being the president,
Oh yeah,
they can vote him down.
yeah. Well, I think that's he's automatically lost that.
Okay. So what has to happen for him to be out of there?
Well, it needs to be a petition with no less than 200 words, formulated by his constituents, and the petition has to have over 51% of all the registered voters in his district to sign off on it. So he has an 8,000 vote district. So 5,000 votes thereabout, or just say for instance, maybe 4,400 votes, somewhere around in there, will get that sent to the governor for a recall. And so if that happens, then the governor has no other chance or no other recourse but to ask him to be relieved of that supervisory post and have a special election.
And when is the election for that position?
That does not come back around until summer after next. So it's really about almost 2 more years in the county positions and the state rep and senatorial positions.
So there's little that can be done in terms of him actually leaving the office of board of supervisors.
Not unless, I mean, that's the way that you recall him. I mean, we can demand his resignation. Now, here's the amazing thing that we have to watch. Is this racism that we're speaking of, is that so embedded in his constituents that they would allow him to stay? Because it's saying a lot about his constituents. It's a few blacks in his district, but his district is majority white. If they allowed him to stay, if they just accept the attitude, well, that's just Harry.
Which has happened.
Yes, but
been the case.
It is really a condemnation on the people of his district.
And that's exactly what I was alluding to. Just like Trump, 53 million people voted for him. Those are 53 million dangerous people that have some sort of attitude or share some of the same core values and beliefs that he believed in.
Right.
I mean, he just didn't get there by himself. So
Right.
this is a very alarming time in terms of where we are and society in terms of which we live in.
Now the different picture of this, as I've talked to a few white people this week, and the economic picture of this is very, very bleak. If he stays, it makes Mississippi, especially Lowndes County, a laughing stock, if you will, and it makes them a laughing stock that over money, over prosperity, over the betterment of the county, over the betterment of the state, that they would still hold on not only to a man that possessed these racist attitudes, but also have racist attitudes themselves. Oh, by the way, one of the local bishops here who stood with the leaders here and the NAACP and Representative Karriem and many others at the courthouse, they relieved him from his church.
Vollard is his name, I think.
Steve Vollard.
Right.
Now, to my understanding, that he has started a new ministry called The Bridge, but the idea of that, where do they do that at? When did Jesus teach hate? And how can they fix their mouth to say that they believe in Jesus and dismiss their pastor for standing up for injustice?
Well, what's troubling to me are the white churches mainly who are not standing with Black Lives Matter, or those churches that say nothing. You're part of the problem. you know?
Yeah.
So that is, I mean, if you have a man that stand for a just cause and he's no longer, or what is it, excommunicated from a church, just for standing for justice, equality, for people, what does that say about the other churches who say nothing on his behalf? It's just like Callan Hill, who's also made national news, a football player from Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. He played football with my sons.
Okay, he decided to take a conscientious stand.
And by the way, want to commend him for that.
Big props to Callan Hill, who stood. No other teammates, no other coaches came by his side.
Well, this is what we do, Ahmed. We stand back and watch and see what's going to happen to you, or what's going to happen to him. You know, because we're so fearful and we're so terrified when somebody does put it all on the line. You know, this young man here, he's on the verge of getting ready to go to the NFL, the Columbine, and all that good stuff. But he put it all on the line. He said he'll set this one out.
That's right.
In honor of us, actually, in protest of the injustices, in honor of freedom, justice, and equality.
That's
He
right.
said he'll sit this one out, and we all should be behind him. There should be no one silent.
But how soon we forget when Muhammad Ali took a stand against the Vietnam War, when the brothers,
in Mexico, in the
12.
Mexico Olympics.
That's right.
Held up the Black Power.
Carlos Smith and
Yeah.
I can't remember the other, but the 12 when Karriem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali.
Well, you don't have to go back that
greats.
far. Look at Kaepernick, just by taking a knee. Now everybody's taking a knee, and he's still not in the NFL, even though Nike picked him up for hundreds of millions of dollars.
So I think there's a fallacy, but the point that I'd like to emphasize here is until you stand up for yourself, until you claim who you rightfully are, until you understand
And what did
where
Donald
you
Trump
are,
say about Kaepernick?
you will
and the
never
ones that
amount
knelt?
to anything in this United States of America. You will never be anything. There's three things that will keep you on the plantation. One is being ignorant. And I'm being quiet here to emphasize a point, because we take refuge in being ignorant. We make large efforts to remain and to participate in stupidity and ignorance. There's an adage that our father used to say a long time ago: if you want to keep something from a black man, put it in a book. Now, he didn't mean that per se coming from him, but what he was talking about was that we don't read, we don't educate ourselves. The second thing that keeps us separated and keep us from being organized or mobilized is that we have a breakdown structure of the family. There is not a fundamental or genuine respect for male or female, or having that in a relationship for each other. The third thing is fear. Creative fear. We have fear to do anything, which leaves us impotent spiritually, physically, mentally. So until we challenge and change those things, you can forget about anything else. And I'm sorry, I'm very passionate
When
about that.
Kaepernick got on his knees,
Yes.
and when them other players got on their knees, what was that Donald Trump said?
He called them sons of bitches.
And then we still didn't say nothing about that.
We did not.
Okay, now going back to Harry Sanders.
All right.
And I remember when my brother was a councilman, and Harry Sanders did the same thing. He called all of them sons of bitches.
Yeah.
They protested against that. And you know what they said? Oh, that's just Harry, you know. So it ties into the same type of mentality that we're talking about. I call it the three monkey syndrome. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
And now they have a fourth one: do no evil.
And do no evil. But that does us no good.
Welcome to Karriem and Company, Prolific, Donetta, Brother Carlos, Cousin Carlos from St. Louis, well, Bellevue to be exact. Thank you for joining us today.
All right.
All of you that are participating, thank you for giving us your Saturday to be here, to be informed. These are matters that relate to you.
For those just tuning in, Mississippi House, they're back in session now. That's the kind of background noise that you hear. We're monitoring the vote on suspending the rules to vote on taking down the flag, Johnny Reb's flag, the last vestige of the Confederate battle satire in the United States of America. Yeah, Johnny Reb. Yeah, and you know, Jack and his crew, but taking it down.
Yeah.
And so after they suspend the rules, if that's successful, then what they'll do is they will vote in the House, need 81 votes, which is going on right now. Then it will go to the Senate. They suspend the rules over there in the Senate. They need 34 votes. And then if that's successful, the Confederate flag, Johnny Reb, is gone. Arrivederci, Avidasain, Adabo, Assalamu alaikum.
You know, I want to take the time just for a teachable moment to share with our viewers the purpose and the reason icons, symbolisms, such as monuments and flags, are so important, especially the negative ones, to be ridded. If they must be seen, viewed, or visited, see them in a museum. There's a psychological thing that happens when children see images that are not like them, but they're held in greatness. This supports the hierarchy of racism without even being conscious. You don't have to say anything. And it also inspires that young 8-year-old, that 5-year-old, that 12-year-old, that they can become great, just like that statue, just like that man on the horse. And it renders our children helpless and hopeless because they don't see images in such manners in front of courthouses or city halls or parks that represent or look like them. So it's a very dangerous psychological menticide that happens that automatically causes an inferiority complex that we need to be conscious of.
You know, there was a very interesting discussion about Rod Parsley. Rod Parsley is a very popular white evangelical televangelist, and he made some racial remarks unknowingly, but it was demeaning to blacks and people that heard it, not because he was purposely doing it, but he did it unintentionally because of his orientation. And what I mean by that is his core values, how he was trained, and I say all that to say because now the discussion has came up in the religious community of how racism has hijacked religion. In other words, if you take things out of improper historical context, if you make the angels white, Jesus white, all the prophets white, you've hijacked religion. And if a little baby is taught that, and if a white baby is taught that, and a black baby is taught that, and they come up in a country, any country in the world, and they're taught that together, then guess what? One is going to feel superior over the other. Why? Because one is going to think that they're more closer to God, righteousness, and being holy than the other. And that's going to come across in conversation, that's going to come across in the workplace, that's going to come across in the educational system, it's going to come across monetarily in terms of what you get and what I get, and that's what's happened in the world today. And so, you know, without...
So what did he say?
Well, you know, and what I'm saying is, and I wish I had exactly what he said before, but what I caught Carlton Pearson and some other bishops discussing his comments, which they were displeased with. When we come back next week, I'm going to tell you exactly what he said, but I'm just agreeing with the conversation because it's something that has been going on. But what our listeners and our viewers, what we can do is, we can put in Carlton Pearson Rod Parsley YouTube, and that will come up for you.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I have an example of how this white privilege, racism works. And you said unknowingly, but I suggest that it is at work so automatically that we're unconscious of it. It happens right under radar where we don't even pick it up. Earlier this week, a story broke out in the New York Times, how only white jailers and prison guards were allowed to guard the ex-officer who killed George Floyd. His name is Derek Chauvin. Now, a lot of people don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's African American jailers and guards that work there. Why should they be excluded from doing their job? Why should it be another Jim Crow situation within that environment where this man can only have white prison guards seeing after him? Is it the fear that the same thing that he did to George Floyd may happen to him? Is that the same question that resonates in our subconscious, that the things that have been done to African American people will somehow be done to them? The reason why the fear of equality is such haunting. So these are some things that we have to ask ourselves. Just the mere fact that we're having this discussion, or the mere fact that a clergyman is dismissed from a church and other churches that are predominantly Caucasian are not having some sort of uproar or discussion, even emphasizes more that Black Lives Matter, but we have a problem.
But then in reverse, you can be a black pastor, not a white one, and you can speak the same language to a congregation and they will dismiss you.
Yes.
In fear of what white people will say or do.
But see, that's white supremacy at its finest.
Yeah.
At that word.
Yeah. So you know, we have the extreme on both ends. You know what I'm saying? You know, I remember when I was pastor many years ago, the 1994 elections. I was running for state representative, and I was pastoring a church then, but I was threatened. Man, you're gonna lose your pulpit. You running for a state representative, you know, or you talking that black stuff too much, you know. And it goes back to racism has made us want to always constantly the validation of white people.
Absolutely.
And when we feel like that we're out there on our own, matter of fact, had a conversation with some young teachers. One of them was my son, and said that we're not going to do better, we're not going to progress in education or anything else until we stop seeking the validation of white folks and start seeking what's best for us to do and move as a people and as a community.
I agree wholeheartedly. And that comes by understanding and knowing who you are and having self-knowledge. One of my mentors, dear friend of mine, Dr. Naeem Akbar, stated that your first claim to self-knowledge is self-identity.
That's your mentor?
Absolutely.
You never told me that.
Oh, you gotta quit.
Man, he used to be my homeroom teacher.
You gotta quit.
He was my homeroom teacher.
Before we wrap up,
Wrap up? It ain't time to go.
It ain't time. What time you got?
Oh, we just on 30 minutes.
Are you able to get anything?
Well, they're still in the meeting right now. I don't want to do that. And
I wish Kabir
they're
could
still
check your
they're still voted. They're still in session voting to suspend the rules. At least, can we get the if we get the vote out of the House, if it comes out the House, you might as well say it's going to be a done deal. It's them 81. It's getting those 81. It's them stubborn, backwood Scarlett O'Hara, Gone with the Wind representatives that got to,
not going with the wind.
they got to come across and vote today. Oh yeah, they, and they don't want to do it, but they got to do it. They got to let it go. They got to let it go today.
I really appreciate each and every one of you all taking your time to make Karriem and Company part of your Saturday. This is episode 18. We come to you live every Saturday at 1 p.m. Tell someone to tell someone that we discuss issues, information that's pertinent to you. At the end of this broadcast, I'll give you some information. If you have comments, concerns, or suggestions that you'd like to hear about, hey, let us know. And we'll discuss them. We'll talk about them. And once again, thank you. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on Karriem and Company YouTube. Always hit that like button.
Man, it's not letting me.
Now, it's not letting you.
I mean, it's buffering.
Oh, okay. One of the issues you and I were talking about before we started today, we talked about how Trump has signed an executive order
About the monuments.
about the monuments.
And statues.
And he stated,
It's got real vague language in some of this order.
this was yesterday?
Yeah. On Friday.
Friday. Earlier today. Okay.
Well, first of all, he's categorizing them, and he's calling them anarchists.
Right.
He's calling them antagonists, agitators, and so he's not even on the side of what it means in terms of slavery, injustice, servitude, or the dehumanization of black people. So he's not on that side, clearly.
Trump tweeted, he said, many people that are sought to vandalize federal property in Lafayette Park should get 10-year sentences. He also tweeted that he had scrapped the plans to spend the weekend at his central New Jersey home. This law would carry the weight up to 10 years. He said Tuesday in a tweet, I've authorized the federal government to arrest anyone who vandalizes or destroys any monument, statue, or other such federal property in the U.S. with up to 10 years in prison per Veterans Memorial Preservation Act or such other laws that may be pertinent.
Yeah. Now, but the that sentence with that dark area is if you incite
violence
and
that's very broad in general.
very broad, So in other words, just for us talking about racism and injustice, and I'll say it now, maybe they might come get me, but that statue uptown at the courthouse, it needs to come down. Now, maybe that might make them come and to my house and get me, you know.
There's a lot of statues, both made of concrete, both made of flesh and blood that needs to
Harry Sanders,
There's
that
a
statue
statue.
need to come down.
But let's not let's not leave here without discussing
Fort Bragg, that needs to be changed.
It
Edmund
does.
Pettus Bridge, it needs to be
Fort Polk.
changed. Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill.
the Ross Barnett Reservoir.
Oh,
we can
man,
go
what
on
you
and
talking
on.
about? So all of it needs to come down. But you know what? The start is going to be in just a few minutes. You know what?
The White Way. What was that called? The
Great White Way over there in Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
The great, it used to be called the Great White Way.
Hey, that's your territory, isn't it?
But listen. But you know what gonna be a great starting point for Mississippi?
What's that?
Johnny Reb finna come down.
Well, good.
That rebel flag is finna come down. Okay. Now I don't even know what he up there debating for. They just need to go on and vote. But I think
Did we have anything
I think we
here?
might have something here.
But in the meantime, while he's pulling that up, I just want our listeners to be mindful of the language that the language and the implications that can come from this executive legislation handed
Mississippi
down.
House of Representative YouTube.
Would it be a precursor to other monuments, statues around the nation in terms of being destroyed or taken down
What
from
mean?
state to state? The executive order.
Well, it could be. It's so broad. It's so generalized.
What I'm saying is, but could it be the precursor for other legislation state to state?
But it could be. With every move, like Black Lives Matter is a movement, there's a counter movement. And I think what we're seeing is a beginning of a counter movement initiated by Donald Trump that's going to be launched in this electoral campaign season, despite the coronavirus, of which we need to touch on that too, because there are more people now and more people dying with the coronavirus than when we first had the lockdowns in May.
Yeah, listen to this. And this is really important. The order also calls for maximum prosecution for anyone who incites violence. That's very vague, very broad.
What incites
And
violence?
illegal activity. And it threatens state and local law enforcement agencies.
So, yeah, so that's real vague, because what incites violence? What is that? Is it a broadcast like this?
A protest?
Is it a protest? You know, is that illegal activity? See, we're moving more and more towards fascism. Towards fascism.
Yeah. Anything come up?
Did you get anything?
We're just checking now.
We're still trying to see where they're at.
The recess is ended, and
No, they're in session now, and we're trying to check to see where the House is with the flag coming down.
I don't know how many of you are on.
You got it?
At that time experienced that, but that was the current flag with the Confederate emblem or to explore
Wow,
another
isn't that
design.
something? Well, one other thing I
don't know
wanted
how
to
many
talk
of you
about.
are here at that time experienced.
You all just want that to play over? Or? No, okay.
Well, they're
Just let me know. Have they taken a vote on it? Okay.
well, they're debating it. It hasn't came to a vote yet. But
What is that called when they talk like that?
a debate?
A debate?
Everybody's having their say, trying to convince their constituents, and it could take a while, because I'm gonna tell you, some of these diehards which know economically that they got to vote, they got to vote, or it's gonna hurt their pocket, but they're trying to explain to their constituents how they feel in their heart, you know, on the slide.
Do you know that I've known athletes that will not play, well, previously at universities here because of that flag?
Yeah,
Athletes that would not come to school or go to college here just because of
yeah.
that.
Ole Miss,
Their own experiences there.
We want to bring that to you as soon as possible,
Not the same.
that decision. Mississippi being the last state of the union to do away with that.
yeah, and the
balance.
process is it's getting ready to be voted upon in the House. They're debating the issue for discussion, as the protocol is. You need 81 votes to get it out of the House, and for it to go to the Senate, need 34 votes in the Senate for it to be official for Mississippi's old flag, the sign of the Confederacy, to come down.
I never could understand how getting your behind kicked or coming in second place could be so celebrated. I just never understood that, but I want to break that down our next episode in terms of how much money that costs to maintain and put up statues. See, we don't understand, and that comes out the pockets of taxpayers.
Of the taxpayer, that's right.
It costs a lot of money.
So, wherever we are, we get up and we all rise. And we all we rise with
Yeah,
Do you know who that is?
if there's a sense of pride.
It's just interactive radio. I'm sorry. I've been doing radio so long. It's interactive.
We stand up.
Telecommunication, huh?
Yeah.
And we salute that flag.
Okay.
But if you bring in our state flag now,
All right.
if there's no uniting song, there's no melodious tunes to that flag, it ought to be something that we all want to feel with.
Well, look, if you just pod that down a little bit, I'll just close out here. And, huh? Oh, yeah, the link is up. The link, if you want to go and listen live while they're discussed, it is up on the website. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Just go to Mississippi Legislature YouTube and just hit the House link because they're in the House right now. If you go to the Senate, it'll be an empty chamber.
Or you can go to Karriem and Company Facebook page, and click on the link, it'll take you right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll be glad you did. How about that?
All right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Closing words.
Please think about what you're thinking about. We're in a crucial time, both pandemically with coronavirus. Please protect yourself at all times. Wear a mask. Know that for the 125,000, almost 126,000 deaths, that 60% of them are African American people. That's a high number. When you talk about half of 126, how many we're talking about? We're talking about, what, 67 people? So just think about 67,000 African Americans who are dead, steady dying already because of pre-existing conditions and because of racism in hospital institutions. Protect yourself as you go out. Do not let this virus kill you. Put on a face mask. Stay alive. You can party later. You can go to the family reunion later. You can go to church a little bit later on. What's most important right now is you staying alive for your wife, your husband, your children. Stay alive. Cover yourself. You might not think it's that serious, but we are headed toward a second wave now that is more crucial than the first, and this coronavirus has taken another strain. It's stronger, it's more deadlier, and it's affecting people greatly. Right now, as I speak, Houston, Texas is completely shut down. Los Angeles, California has become a new epicenter. Miami, Florida has become a new epicenter. Please put on your face mask and practice social distancing. Tell somebody about Karriem and Company, and love one another. We need to love one another.
I want to just take a few minutes and talk about a black tax. A black tax isn't money paid. A black tax is telling your son or your daughter how to survive on the streets, whereas other ethnicities don't have to tell their children to behave, to be safe, to put your hands where they're visible if stopped by a police officer, namely if that police officer happens to be Caucasian. A black tax comes with a way to act in society that's placed on you by people who don't look like you. You ever had your conversation with your sons?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of if you're pulled over?
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a black tax.
Yeah.
Okay? Being scrutinized for wearing a hoodie, it's a black tax.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go and that you're labeled or you're suspicious, that's a black tax.
Or how come you get out of high school and you got to work at McDonald's and your white friend that was in your class with you, he gets to work at the post office?
Or how about if he didn't graduate and he gets a job driving an excavator, and you graduate and
you the oiler.
We're going to talk more about that. But once again, I really thank you. I want to give out a lot of love to those that work behind the scene. Big ups, and a lot of love goes out to the Alexander family.
Yeah.
A lot of love to you.
Yes.
It's never easy losing a loved one, but he's always with us in spirit and thought.
Yeah.
As we close today, we always be mindful.
And my secretary, Doc.
Your secretary, Doc?
She been my secretary.
I thought you said you're going to dock her pay.
No, she been my secretary for 24 years.
No,
But
that's a
but
long time.
sometimes she thinks she's fired.
You know she's listening.
I know.
Okay. All right. As we close out today, we impart light, facilitate vision, fuel empowerment, and always, always inspire action. Until next time, we are one. Thank you. Peace. Peace.